just kind of make some noise while I get the face.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tellman and Fellman Live with Simon Lee Young here. You guys don't know who Simon is? We're going to tell you all about it. If you do know who he is, hopefully he's streaming to his thousands and billions of people that are awake right now, because we're between me and Tellman's people are probably awake at 8 a.m., 9 a.m. in the morning, but
One would
my
hope.
world,
One
yeah,
would hope.
I'm in the middle of the day. I'm sure my daughter is freaking out right now because this is the first time that I'm streaming from the UK, and I'm loud as fuck. And she used to complain about. By the way, it's okay to curse on this show.
It's
apparently.
okay.
You can see I'm in my little box here in Woking, UK, for the first time, and I am on a watermelon-only diet. Not really. Anyway, Tellman, what's going on with you?
What's that, Harris?
Don't talk with your mouth full when you're doing a live stream.
Oh, good. So you just stop talking. That's really good. That's a really good move. That's like pro talk show.
I did not just stop talking. I said, Tellman, what's going on with you?
Oh, what's going on with me? Well, I haven't eaten any watermelon, but I do have a large bottle of popcorn left over from last night that my girlfriend packed for me so as a snack for later. So that's kind of nice. But yeah, I'm it's Labor Day. And we're live streaming because Simon, we haven't really told you this whole thing, but Harris and I have started a talk show, and our talk show is called the Tellman and Fellman Show. And I think you came on one of our live streams recently and made some comments. And so we are live streaming 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. It's a marketing talk show, and we're interviewing all of the cool marketing people from our past, right, as they appear. And so thanks for commenting and saying what's up the other day. And then I guess you and Harris have been kind of in touch and working on some projects in the background. And Harris and I have working on some projects together. And so and then you and I got a chance to talk just 2-3 days ago and catch up a little bit. So welcome to Tellman and Fellman.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Tellman and Fellman. Coolest talk show name ever.
That's right. That's right. So you're tuning in straight from Malaysia.
In Malaysia, yes, on an island called Penang.
Penang, that's where there's that I see that on menus at Chinese restaurants all the time, I thought.
Yeah, Penang is actually famous for the food. So next time you come to Malaysia, next time you come to Asia, anywhere, stop by. I'll take you out for some good eating.
Yeah, nice. I bet the food's great there if all these Chinese restaurants have culturally appropriated it, right? And calling it Chinese when it's not. I wanted to tell everybody how I met you for the first time, because I think it's kind of interesting.
Sure.
At least met you in person for the first time, and I don't know how. I don't think we met before then. I was on an airplane from Minnesota. I think I was with Andrea, and we were going to Los Angeles to go to the Rich Jerk party. So for anybody that doesn't know what the hell I'm talking about, you're not old enough, and you're not cool enough.
You're not old enough. That's
anyway, this was when there was a Playboy Mansion. There's not a Playboy Mansion anymore. We were invited to go to Los Angeles.
Oh, there's no Playboy Mansion anymore. That stopped.
The building's there, but yeah, he died, and it got sold a little bit before he died, I think. I'm not sure who owns it now.
I guess I didn't know that Hugh Hefner died. I missed that.
You lost the opportunity to purchase the Playboy Mansion. I'm sure it could have been called the Tell Mansion or the Fell Mansion, but no, or the Side Mansion. Any of us could have bought it. But
it's not my son.
I feel like there's just so much wrong history there. I don't know if I'd want that energy.
No way.
But anyway, but there's also some really great energy there. We met coming off of the airplane. You and Sam, right? Sam Hare were both on the plane. I've become lifelong friends with Sam as well, and I didn't really know you guys too much, but you saw me on the plane, and we got off the plane. Did we ever meet at an event before that, though, Simon? You and I? I know Sam and I didn't.
I think that might have been the first time. Of course, I knew of you. You did have a couple products out there, and I had met Merlin, who was your business partner at the time in San Diego. So he was talking great stuff about you. But yeah, could recognize you all the way from the back of the plane, your shiny little head. And it's like, that's Harris Fellman. And it's like,
That's
oh, yeah. So,
But
no, but I don't think we met.
Merlin lived with me in Minnesota for a little while.
Yeah.
That's when we started the project. Yeah. So, but you weren't living in Minnesota. You were just there to meet with Sam for something.
Something like that. And was it yours or was it Sam's house that was sinking at one point? Was it around that time? Your house, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I
Wow.
bought a house that was so literally when we first moved into the house. My wife's father saw the house and was like, oh, there's a little bit of a tilt to the house, and we're like, what are you talking about? The realtor says everything's fine. They gave us some papers. Right. We made the biggest mistake of our realtor was both the buyer's agent and the seller's agent, so we weren't incredibly protected. Yeah, so basically you could take a bottle at the front of the house and put it on its side, and it would roll down to the other side of the house.
Yeah. Okay.
And that was when we moved in. I don't think we noticed it like physically actually sinking, but we did finally have somebody come out and check it out, and they're like, no, your house is built on peat moss and it's sinking. Ooh. Like it's like so. Yeah, so basically, luckily there was a foreclosure crisis back then, and we kind of just ended up moving and stopped paying for it, and her brothers were living in it for a while, and it was like this time when like Wells Fargo got class action lawsuit, so we actually didn't pay for probably a year. They took the house away, but they did it illegally, so we got like $5,000 a few years later as compensation for them taking our sinking house. So works for me. You didn't know that part of the story. Yeah.
That's a good little house. The lesson is don't build your house on peat moss, ladies and gentlemen. Build on a strong foundation.
Right? Playboy Mansion. That was the night that we met, and then right after that was Magic Castle. I don't know if you remember that part, because we had a little bit too much fun at the Playboy Mansion.
Oh wait, I had too much fun at the Playboy Mansion?
Yeah, you.
I think my wife had too much fun at the Playboy Mansion. There's photos. There's photos of that. What?
There's no photos. No photos. No videos. No nothing. No evidence. I was never there.
First of all, it's not possible to have too much fun at the Playboy Mansion. I mean, that's what it's for, right?
Yeah, so. Yeah.
You didn't go to that, did you, Tellman? You were.
No, not my thing.
Not your thing, and also anyway, there's quite a few guys that were like, nah, I don't think I'm gonna go, but my wife wanted to go, so I couldn't say no.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Anyway, let's move on.
I don't know what to say.
Let's move into well actually, the Playboy Mansion isn't that event is an event, and that was a gathering of affiliate marketers. That was a reward, but also a
a big marketing party.
Big marketing party, a networking event. It was, it definitely put, Rich Jerk, Kelly, and Magic, Ryan.
And Eben Pagan. It was his event.
And Eben Pagan, heavily on the map for the next probably 5 years. That probably, bought them 5 years of reciprocity of people working with them and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's true. So you guys met at the Playboy Mansion.
No, we met on the plane.
On the plane to
on
the
way
Playboy
to the Playboy
Mansion. All right. So Simon, I mean, will you tell us a little bit about your story? I mean, you've been a entrepreneur and an internet marketer for a long time, and we talked a little bit the other day about what you're doing now, which we should totally talk about today. And we talked a little bit about how we first crossed paths, but I don't really know your story. I don't really know what your deal is. So as an entrepreneur, like, why are you doing all this stuff? Where do you come from? What's your deal?
Yeah, it's really interesting because back in the late 90s, like 1996, 1997, that was when the whole internet.com thing happened, right? So I started actually making money since 1997 online.
Hold on, how old are you? How old are you? I'm 47.
44, 45.
44. Okay, so you got started young. All right, cool. Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, it was interesting times because everything was brand new. So it wasn't something that you could do full time. I went the traditional path. I went to school, university, got my degree. I worked at Google.
Wait,
And then
what did you get a degree in?
I got a degree in graphic design of all things. That was my major, and I had a minor in advertising, which got me the job at Google because they were looking for advertisers and people who were good with copy and all that stuff. So it was a great experience.
I forgot about that. That was a big leveraging point for you to come into the internet marketing world and talk about the fact that you were inside at Google.
Yeah. So while I was working at Google, that was when my eyes opened up to the possibilities of becoming a marketer, because there were a lot of affiliates who, at the time, if you remember the Google Cash method, I was basically handling all their accounts. And I was like, dude, why am I like slaving away on like a 9 to 5 job, which wasn't 9 to 5. I was working like 10, 12 hours a day on multiple time zones, kind of similar to what I'm doing right now. But a lot of things is it's crazy because I'm seeing the opportunity that's out there, and at the same time I was bounded by NDA, so there were all these people who were asking me, hey, so how do I actually get onto the first page of Google, or how do I get multiple positions, or how do I get the best pay-per-click, pricing and budgeting and cost per click? And I couldn't share any of the deep down secrets, so it didn't make sense. And so I think I started running across different internet marketing stuff online. Of course, I ran across Tellman's my first list. I was like, hey, this is really amazing stuff. And it wasn't even until 2005 or 2006 that I went and attended my first seminar. That's where I met people like Michael Same and Tom Beal, Donna Fox, Gary, what's his name? Gary Ambrose.
Yep.
And Terry Dean, like all the big guys, all at the first seminar that I went to. And I was like,
seminar was that? Your first seminar? Do you remember?
It was Joel Christopher's list building seminar in San Antonio, Texas.
Dude, I remember Joel Christopher. He and I had a little list building rivalry for a little while, but I think it was all good fun. But like, I haven't heard from that guy in a dog's age.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think he might be back in the Philippines now, but I could be wrong. I think I'm connected with him on Facebook, but I haven't seen him in a while. But yeah, I mean, the reason why I then got connected to the Joel Christopher list building seminar was because obviously I came across list building first from my first list. Yeah. So I was like, this is really cool. And then it was like, Joel was like, he's promoting a marketing cruise where he's going to be, inviting people like Ken MacArthur and Mike Same and Brian Edmondson, who was there, and, obviously working really closely with you guys as well. And so I was really big in the whole list building thing for a while. And because at the time it was called Google AdWords, now it's called Google Ads, but it was a completely brand new niche. It didn't exist. I launched the product called AdWordsListBuilding.com. And that, I mean, it's nothing these days, but we did like 6 figures in 7 days or something like that. In fact, I think I reached out to you, Harris. I was like, hey, let's see what we can do on the JV side of things. And then Sam was a big help in that as well. So yeah, we did that about 6 figures in 7 days. That was the Jeff Walker thing before he was the launch formula. Yeah. Right? 6 figures in 7 days. So it was a big deal. Nowadays is nothing because you can do $1 million in 1 day. Right.
That's so interesting. It's just before this call started, I heard back from Jesse Jameson, who was one of the co-creators of 30K in 30 Days. And
I remember.
Were you part of 30K in 30 Days? Were you in the room for that? I don't think you were.
I think I was. No.
Yeah, they were like, it was at a seminar, and it was an impromptu product that we created, and we threw like 25 or 30 marketers in a room, and 3 of us had like good video cameras that could record back then, and we, for like a few hours, we just brainstormed on how to generate 30K in 30 days, and the model that we came up with was to do a summit, right? Yeah. To do a virtual summit, and I've wanted to include it as a bonus in our new launch, and Jesse just got back to me and sent me the file, And so I was really
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, things were really different back in the day, right? I mean, there were no virtual summits the way that we know them to be now. They were like teleseminars.
yeah.
And you
No,
did
no,
these
there
over
wasn't even streaming video. Like webinars didn't exist. You know, we
Yeah.
couldn't be here like in this way. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
pretty amazing if you think about it. Like we all can have our own television station. You know what I mean? Like, whereas back in the back then, you just the bandwidth that people had wouldn't have been enough to handle the
Right.
streaming videos.
Right.
But Simon, you mentioned that with that first product, you did you kind of used product launch formula to whatever degree, and it was pretty successful. Have you ever done and it's okay if you haven't, have you ever done like a virtual summit as a way to build a list?
Oh, we've done so many virtual summits over the years. Obviously, in the beginning, not so much because it was primarily an offline world. Like in 2006, when I launched into full-time entrepreneurship for the first time, I pretty much jumped right into live events. And I went to a whole bunch of different seminars, different city every single week. And then within a year, I was like global. I was speaking across 15, 16 countries a year.
You were speaking at the events, but weren't you also a little behind the scenes? I feel like I'm going to probably botch who it was, but weren't you like working closely with some like high level, like drop a name type of thing, like Jack Canfield or
yeah, Robert Allen, Mark Victor Hansen. We did those kinds of events as well. And then a lot of what we learned from these live in-person events is it's not just
direct response live in-person events. Like all the people that you're talking about are like
exactly.
So wait, let's so basically, Tellman, you're making a differentiation between like we're getting a bunch of people together to speak and share with you versus, and we're paying them $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 to speak versus those people get on stage and they sell something at the back of the room and they make 20,000, 30,000, 50,000 by doing that, by having an exchange of product and value.
I mean, that's the simple version is they have events that are engineered to sell like the bejesus, like they're engineered like to the ends of the and those guys are smart. I mean, then they had been doing it for 25, 30 years when you were working with them, Simon. Like,
oh yeah, these are like 7-8 figure a year businesses. But notwithstanding, regardless of the kind of business model these kinds of events actually have, one thing that's really interesting to me is the value doesn't come when you're on the stage. It doesn't come when you're actually sharing the content. It doesn't even come when you are sitting there listening and learning. We have a saying, and I think I don't remember who said it first, but I definitely not going to take credit for it. But we have a saying that your network is your net worth. And I think that definitely because of my opportunity to be able to speak at all these different stages, it allowed me to grow my network, to be able to know people like you, Tellman, to know people like you, Harris, and so many people within the industry. And it's really interesting because as we transitioned online, and the funny thing about Southeast Asia is we're very old school. Like even back in 2010, 2015, up to 2020, everybody wanted to do things offline. It's a very classroom environment. People needed to ask questions. They needed on the spot answers. And it wasn't even until the pandemic that we actually went online and had a global community. But what really brought us apart was because I was offline for like 15 years. It allowed me to bring my network online. And so with the virtual summits that we did, we introduced the Southeast Asia as well, the global community, to people like the Mark Joyners of the world, the Harris Fellmans of the world, the Tellmans, the Mike Sames and Donald Fox and Gary Ambrose, and all these big guys whom previously never had the chance to get that exposure from where they are in their world versus the now traditional world of offline marketing. So here, especially in different parts of the globe where predominantly has been dominated with offline marketing, once we started doing virtual summits, it exploded like wildfire. Like, why didn't we do this 10 years ago? Like, why did it take us 20 years after the US and the Western part of the world started doing it till now? It allowed them to really open up their eyes and see the opportunity with that, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to have that connection. Their network wouldn't be their network. It wouldn't be, even if it's an online social media connection, they always thought you always have to be in person. You got to meet them face to face. You got to shake their hands. And that's how you actually know somebody. But now, because of the virtual summits that we run, a lot of people are now connected with some of the top marketers in the world, entrepreneurs, and it's become a life-changing, revolutionary moment for all of them.
That's amazing. It's amazing to me because I've always thought of Southeast Asia, especially as being like more advanced from a technological standpoint. So to hear you say that what was that? Is that a true statement, you think?
Technologically, yes.
So they're technologically advanced, but they still from a how to do business. They didn't really. But I mean, come on, even the U.S. I think the 2021 year did change everything in the way people started doing business and being willing to do business and working remote. Like, guys, we were working remotely before half of the world was working remotely.
Right,
we didn't. Right. What was the difference between the pandemic for some of us and
there was no difference for me.
I mean, I couldn't go outside at all. I was like, okay. I mean, what's the difference? You know, I thank God I had a dog.
I spend all day alone at home by myself anyway.
Yeah,
Simon,
exactly.
do you work from home or do you work in an office?
Now I've been working from home for the past 5 years. Previously, I had also been working from home. I had home office, but I also had training centers in multiple cities because we have multiple businesses. We did our own training. We have our agency meetings there. We also rented out the training centers, the venues when we're not using it. So that became like an additional multiple stream of income source. And it made sense because in this part of the world, people are always looking for venues. They're all offline people, right? But I think within the past 5 years or so, 4 or 5 years, everything has been done from home.
Hey,
yeah.
Tellman,
So,
I was going to ask, you and I, we just really started this show and we really just started bringing people onto the show, and we've talked about, but we haven't structuralized it yet, but there was a few questions that we wanted to really start bringing out of people, which was something along the lines of, you've been doing this for a while. What do you take from back then, and what applies to now? But then also the flip side of it, which we'll break. We'll interact with you after you answer that one. But then the flip side of that is what exists now that is totally different than 20 years ago, but what do you feel like it's just lasted the test of time? Like what's either what's in us or what's lasted the test of time? What comes up for you when we ask that?
You're asking Simon right now.
I'm asking Simon.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
If you'd like, I remember when I grabbed some watermelon and Tellman grabbed some popcorn, you were looking around for food. Did you have any food you wanted to show us? If not, you're going to have to answer that question. All right.
Basically, Simon, like, you've been a marketer for over 20 years, it sounds like, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And you've been learning this stuff, and you've seen a lot come and go, and you're still very active and have an active, growing business, and you're still in it. You're still hustling, and so, what is the same? What is different? From your perspective.
A lot of what I teach in my training are usually some of the fundamentals of for example, Google system or marketing, things that aren't going to change. Like the funnel is always going to work, right? You need to always be building your list. You always need to know what Google wants in order for you to get onto the top of the page, page one, even multiple positions. So with that, the content, we don't go flashy with any brand new bells and whistles. Like this is the next big thing. Sure, we integrate things like AI because it makes your life easier, but it's not a replacement for anything that you're supposed to do. One thing that I found to be very interesting to work really well is taking the past 20 plus years of my offline experience doing presentations and traveling around the world and spreading value to over deliver to people in person, and now being able to transfer that information online. The process is exactly the same. I mean, we have a page and you're going to get people to register to a live event. The only difference is now you're delivering to a computer, right? You're delivering in a very different format. You need to make sure that the technology is in place. You got to make sure the equipment is in place. But once you get that down, I think that the most beautiful thing about what we do, and especially with live events, especially with virtual summits, is your ability to transfer whatever knowledge that you have over to somebody who would benefit from that, who would find value in that, and in an environment where it doesn't require them anymore to have to travel if they cannot travel, to have to buy air tickets or book a hotel room if they cannot afford that. It allows the world as a market to be able to consume your content and find value in what you have to share without leaving the comfort of their own home. So it goes both ways, right? As business owners, we can spend more time with family. We can do what we want. We can sleep in. If we wanted to, we don't have to worry about traveling and doing all that stuff. But at the same time, those who are learning, they reap the same benefits as well. So it's really amazing, I think, what you guys are doing, bringing back full circle, because in today's world, a lot of what we do is we start implementing, right? Like I've learned about doing live events since 15 plus years ago. And so all this time, we've just simply been doing it. Once in a while, to a closed door room of our private VIP teams, would give them like a virtual presentation, training session, or do train the trainer, but it doesn't go out to the public. You guys, you're like, hey, this is something that's been working for a very long time. It's something that is relevant in today's world. It's something that you need, and you're bringing that to the table. So with that, I applaud you guys for putting something together, because I believe that this is something that most people, if not everyone, who has some kind of value, some kind of message that they want to share, this is their platform to making it happen.
No, thanks. I appreciate that.
No, that's awesome, Simon. So, like, dude, in your experience conducting virtual summits, or perhaps taking part in other people's virtual summits, at some point, I assume, like, for someone who's never done one before, what are 1, 2, or 3 of the biggest benefits for you?
All the benefits,
just in your own experience. Like, why would I want to do a virtual summit? Like, what's it going to do for me?
Sure. I mean, let's go back old school, right? We talk about list building. We talk about having leads, lead generation, and we all have heard over and over that the money is in the list. We heard that phrase, right? The thing is, and I learned this especially when you're here in Southeast Asia, where people are a lot more cutthroat. Like you need to impress them. Like you stand up in the front of the room, they don't like go yay and cheer for you. They're like, impress me, type of thing, right? So you can have a list of 100,000 people of people that you are looking to need to impress, but the money doesn't start till after you start building the relationship with them. So the money is in your relationship with the list. And by having virtual summits, you're able to connect with them in a way that email isn't able to. A sales page isn't able to. Even follow-up email campaigns aren't able to. A lot of times we say, oh yeah, we take a look at the numbers, and on average, if this sales letter is going to convert at 1% for us, it's going to be absolutely awesome, right? That 1% would be a luxury if we're able to do that, just that in this part of the world. But because we're able to follow up with them, hey, let's connect. Do you have any questions? Let's incorporate this into the next virtual summit, the next live event, the next virtual session that we're going to be doing. You're building the know, like, and trust. So much more effectively than just prints on a website. Tellman, we talked about how different kinds of sales letters and different designs and white text on black background or vice versa. Which one is going to convert the most? The thing is, it's going to be different for every single market, right? Yeah, but the way that you connect with an audience, the way that you connect with somebody face to face, even if it's behind a computer screen, it's going to be the same. You answer their questions, you connect with them directly, And it basically is the multiple fold, right? You're building that list, but you're also building that relationship, and you're also able to demonstrate the actual kind of value that you can bring. So you're kind of adapting, even we talked about Evan Pagan, the Evan Pagan philosophy. You're giving away seemingly a lot of the top value stuff for free because you're sharing it with them, right? They're asking questions. However, the more you do it, you'll know that a 5-minute conversation, a 10-minute conversation isn't going to change someone's life. It's not going to be able to get them to where they want to go. You only have time to tell them what to do, but you can't really show them how to do it.
You have time to inspire them.
Exactly. You have time to inspire them, to motivate them, let them know that it's possible. Combat those objectives that they have. Right. Everybody's going to have those sales objections, right? And they're going to say, oh, yeah, I don't think that I can do it. I think it's too difficult. I think that there's too much competitors out there. I think that only the gurus can do it. I'm not you. I don't have the skill. Every single excuse in the book.
Yeah.
When you do the virtual summits and they can actually see you, the know, like, and trust factor is there. But at the same time, you're able to help them overcome those objections that a sales letter couldn't possibly do.
One of the other really cool pieces here is, as the host of the virtual summit, let's say you have 12 webinars or trainings or whatever that you do. Like, you're the least common denominator. Like, you're the person that shows up on all of them. And so they get to see you interacting with all these people, all these different personalities, and they get to see how you show up over time and how you deal with stress. When things go wrong, do you lose your crap, or can you roll with it? Or, how do you deal with something when you like get embarrassed and you say something dumb, right? Like, they really do get to know you over time. That's a very powerful piece of the puzzle.
Well, I was going to ask about that too. Like, Simon, I remember like running into you, whatever, in a back room at some event here and there. Did you host a lot of events, or were you kind of back? Weren't you a little bit more back of the room for some point, and then did you eventually start hosting, or did you tell me?
Yeah, in the beginning, I was mostly just a speaker because I knew nuts about either. I didn't know how to be a speaker. I didn't know how to organize events. But because there were so many events going on, I mean, like the Joel Christopher, Mike Felsame, I spoke at his event, and then Joel Calm had some events, and then Kim MacArthur obviously had a whole bunch of JV alerts and impact events. Keith Wellman and Gary Ambrose at one point was doing events, and there were just so many that was happening every single week that I didn't have time necessarily to organize my own events. But when I came to this part of the world, a lot of it is there's only a small handful of event organizers, and they have their events like once every few months. So at some point, I started organizing my own events as well. So my company became an events company where I promoted all these different events where I would also be the main speaker. So there were a lot in terms of
so you were the main speaker, not even necessarily a host with multiple speakers. You might have been like, it was you speaking. And did you have a host introduce you or anything?
Sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't. So as an events company, we did have different kinds of events. One, I mean, I can actually just have an event where it's like a webinar. You're the only person, like I'm the only person there. And it's a 2-hour or a 3-hour event, and that's it. And then as part of the company that I'm with right now, that I co-founded alongside with my partners called iSummit, we also have offline events, and we run the 1-day, 2-day, 3-day events, or the 1-week mastermind events where we get different multiple speakers to come in. Not all of them. Some of them are the kind that Tellman was talking about, like the pitch fest, we call them. But most of the time now, we realize that it's much more important for us to build the value as opposed to jumping from one speaker to another, because we know the know, like, and trust. We know the importance of building that relationship, building that rapport. You can't really do that in a 90-minute session. You can sell, definitely, but most of the people who end up buying, they're like, what did I actually buy? I just know that I got hypnotized for the past 90 minutes and it was a really good sales presentation and they did really good in terms of getting people back in the room. But those are also the kind of people, and we talked about this, Tellman, right? People who don't end up doing anything, don't end up getting results. Yeah, so it's very important the way that we run things, that we have the right market, that we use the time that we have to pre-frame them, to provide them with the right education. And that's the other brilliant parts of your program, which it's not a 1-day event or a 2-day event. It's spread out across 12 weeks. And possibly you'll have a community, possibly you'll keep in touch, possibly you'll have follow-up and bonus sessions after that, additional content, right? People aren't going to be able to learn, execute, and become success stories overnight. From a 1-day event, 2-day event, forget about it. It'll take them weeks. Yeah. Sometimes it'll take them months, sometimes it'll take them years. So that's how you can differentiate. That's how you differentiate, right? The people who are the fake gurus who are just after the money versus those who are veterans in the space who know through experience, how can we make people take action? How can we get them to be successful? You guys know it takes them weeks, and you're going to be spending time with your students over a course of 12 weeks or longer, just to make sure that you get the information into their head and they also start implementing what they've learned.
Right. And then like with the summits, the way we teach you to do the summits, like you said, we call them interview series or summits. And I think of it like a TV show. Like basically you've got all this preparation that you have to do before you launch the first episode, the first season of the television show. And now you gather your audience, and we teach how to do that. And then when the show starts, there's a launch, and you do your first episode, and then you do your second one, your third one, your fourth one. And when you're done with the first season, whether it's 8 or 12 or 13, webinars or episodes, whatever you end up calling it, you don't just flush the list down the toilet and never talk to them again. You've now got people that are super interested.
Now you have the beginnings of a business. Yeah, now you have something long term you can build on.
You could do it again a month later. You could, whatever, or you can just continue to release new episodes, and you don't even have to do that because it pretty much feeds itself the way between the building an audience and then also giving them the content. So
That's right. So we'll talk a little bit more about the boot camp later, but Simon, for people that want to find out more about what you've got going on, what you're working on, where can people either get on your list or buy something from you or something?
Oh yeah, definitely connect with me. SimonLeon.com is my main site. Some people call it my CV because it's got some of my different products and services on there as well. But I was talking to Harris, and we're talking about the new Insiders Club that we have, which basically shares with you all the different internet marketing skills that you would need in order for you to take your own business to the next level. Even if you simply want to get a higher paying job, or you want a side gig, a remote career, anything. We know that in this day and age, not only is AI very important, but of course, digital marketing as a skill is also very important. So you'll be able to find more about that at simonleon.com. We even have a free version, a free lesson for you, a free session from the Insiders Club, or you can just go directly to theinternetinsidersclub.com, and you'll be able to find more about that.
All right, cool. Well, yeah, and it's I don't know what the price is now, but I know you don't have to say what it is, but I hope you raised the price because it was way too affordable from what I remember. Where are most of your customers from? I mean, I'm not just saying that. Like, I think, I was like, oh, that's all you're charging for what you're giving? Okay. But where are most of your customers from? Are they mostly from like your part of the world, but it's all in English, or what?
Everything is in English, but we do have actually a global audience. Our customers, our community, our members, they're all over the US, Canada, UK, Australia. We got people in France and in Spain, and of course Malaysia and Hong Kong, Taiwan, Singapore. We are a pretty global community. That's why we do have different time zones, because whatever time zone, whatever time that you actually do, it's the middle of the night for somebody somewhere around the world. So,
right.
We try to make it good for UK time. So if one day, Harris, you want to jump in, we want to make sure that it's good for you in London. And then the Tellman, if you're on one day, we got to make sure that it's good for you in the US, in Vermont. So with all of that, we gotta make sure that we are adaptable to the entire audience. And that in itself is also another lesson, especially in virtual summits with a global community. We need to make sure that we understand our audience is from different parts of the world, have different cultures. I know that before the show started, we made some jokes that may not necessarily be suitable for the public, but obviously, when we do have, when we're actually live, the camera is on. You got to make sure that you are hypersensitive to different things. I mean, I'll share with you a great example. And this might not. I won't name the name, but you were a part, Paris, of the Freedom Day event that we did a month ago or so, right? So that was part of the Groove community. I remember when we did like the 2-week long session.
24 hour, right? It was like 24 hours a day, 2 weeks.
24 hours a day for 2 weeks was just crazy, but everyone was delirious, at that time, and people were just like, yeah, we got things going on. And so with the understanding, especially here in Malaysia, there's obviously a huge population of people who are Muslim. And so with Muslim, a lot of their lifestyle is what we call halal, right? So there's no pork and no alcohol that is allowed. And so, with our marketers, the way that we party, the way that we hang out, we want to be cool, right? So during the actual event itself, we're like, oh yeah, cheers everybody. And you'll be holding up alcohol, beer, or you'll be taking shots. And that was offensive to some people because it was against their religion. It was against their way of life. And then I think at one point somebody was having breakfast because it was a 24-hour day thing. So like, oh yeah, breakfast. What are you having for breakfast? Oh, I got bacon and eggs and whatever, mushroom and a cool omelet. And because of bacon, obviously made with pork, it was also offensive to this part of the world for many people who happen to have that religion, right? So a lot of what we need to prepare ourselves for is to know, understand that we need to understand our audience, internet marketing 101, your market research 101, know your audience, but not just their demographics, not just in terms of how much money they make or whether or not they're the right person for your product or service, but also their background, their culture. We need to be sensitive to that. I mean, right now, the world is even more sensitive than ever, but for anything that is political or religious, we typically stay away anything from that because it's just not worth it.
Yeah, you're always anymore. I won't curse anymore on these shows. I hear what you're saying. I apologize, Tellman.
No, it's interesting because there's no one right or wrong way to handle any of this stuff either. There are lots of very, very successful personalities that are hyper polarizing, that dive deep into these issues and stand their ground firmly on it. And people either love them or are horrified with them. And so that's another path. And so we can all decide, what's cool, what's not cool. But
do you think that belongs in marketing?
What's that?
Polarizing like that, being polarizing. You think?
I don't think. I mean,
I guess it depends on what you're marketing, right?
For me anyway, so much of marketing is like it's almost like an expression of self. A lot of my copy, I was listening to Rick Rubin's The Creative Act audiobook, and I was just like, man, I really treat marketing as art, and so I think that all the personalities are fair game in all the things. I don't necessarily like hanging out with certain types of people or whatever because whatever. But if someone wants to be super alpha and super domineering and that's cool, but it's just not my thing.
Yeah.
But there's also for the way over the top, super polarizing. There are also people that are extremely quiet, introverted, brilliant copywriters that are kind of, you almost don't know they exist until they write something astonishing, and so there's a lot of different personalities in the community. I mean, that's always
the case. Tell me what I have one. I wanted to see if you have one as well. When Simon was saying come on, if we were I don't really eat. I happen to not eat pork, but it's not because I'm Jewish. But like if I happen to be eating a piece of bacon on an international call and accidentally offending somebody, that's not what we're talking about. Like, you don't want to do that. I did that once with something. I'll tell you about it. But is there anything that you've stepped in and you were like, oh shit, I should have done that? Or you were surprised by the flack you got from it.
I do this so much less now that I'm older, I guess through experience, but like I was so prone to this as a child, and when I was like so socially inept, like I was just constantly pissing people off just by like saying what was on my mind.
Yeah.
And it not being like popular, like I had like the opposite view and was willing to share it, and I would regularly like get beat up as a result and stuff. And so like I have a certain degree of like lack of awareness of how other people are feeling. I'm getting better empathy. I'm getting more empathetic and more compassionate and more like heart connected with people as I get older and practice it. But that doesn't really come very naturally to me. And so I guess I've found myself in lots of situations where other people around me were kind of horrified, but I wasn't really bothered necessarily.
Yeah, me too.
So,
every 40-plus-year-old man probably has a bit of that. I mean, yeah.
So yeah, nothing too bad, I guess, or nothing too bad that's like that I'm remembering.
Well, for me, you make me think about. I just talking to my ex about this. Something that my daughter, who's in the other room, she's a know-it-all. She's really very smart, and she's right all the time. That doesn't always fly with people, but it's almost like
you got to know when to keep it to yourself. Yeah,
like,
that's true.
And like literally, she's like, "Why are you even questioning it?" It's like, but I used to be like that without realizing it as well. I wasn't quite as smart as she is, but I was. We have to always be right. The thing that I did, which you guys will appreciate, was I was at Matt Basic's God's Country. He would put events out there sometimes. And he's big on a specific type of shot. Do you know what shot Matt Basic likes? Do either of you happen to know?
The Irish car bombs.
It was Irish car bombs, yes. And I sent a subject line.
Matt just lost so much weight. That guy is like in the best shape of his life right now, I think. He's kicking
me
too. Shot.
Yeah, me too. He's probably not drinking Irish car bombs anymore. But anyway, that was my subject line, was something about an Irish car bomb.
Yeah.
And as you can imagine, that pissed off some people in Northern Ireland who had, people that had died in their lives from a car bomb. So, I was like, whoa.
I mean, that's the thing, is anything that's emotionally charged. So this is the flip side of it.
But who knew that
No, it's like anything that's emotionally charged. Anything that's emotionally charged and is going to get people to pay attention is by nature also going to trigger someone emotionally in some sort of a way. And so it's like, it is. I mean, this is interesting, Simon, because like historically in my 20 years of email marketing, every single one of my biggest winning emails that made the most money also got the most hate mail. Every single time. And so eventually with the mascot emails, I was able to turn around to start getting fan mail and have the emails win. But like with normal direct response emails, like all the ones that made the most money always got the most pushback too. I mean, have you found that to be the case in your marketing experience, Simon?
I found that to be the case in a lot of what we share on the stage, because I obviously made a lot of mistakes earlier on with the whole different culture type of thing. But one thing that I agree with you on, Tellman, is a lot of times you can just be yourself, like whether you're for one side or another other side, somebody is going to be happy with you, somebody's not going to be happy with you. The only difference is I think we got to think like marketers, like if it's effective, if it grabs the attention. A lot of times people say no press is bad press, right? If it draws the crowd, draws the attention, get people talking, a lot of times it's marketing. Right. So if part of who you are, if that's part of what you do and part of your strategy, then go for it and do it. Don't pretend to be somebody that you're not.
Right.
Don't put a mask on and pretend that you're for one side or another just because the crowd happens to want to hear that. Be yourself, because sooner or later people will know.
It's true. It's true. So it's like, I like to say that money is an amplifier, right? Like if you have a lot of money, if you're an asshole, you're going to be a way bigger asshole with a lot of money. And like, if you're a really kind, generous, wonderful human being and you have a lot of money and you have a lot of resources, you're probably going to help a lot more people, a lot more deeply, right? It's an amplifier. And marketing is interesting. So it's basically like, don't say it if you can't stand for it. Don't say it if you can't stand up for it, even in the face of opposition. And if you're like genuinely a good person, you care about how other people feel, and like you offend somebody and you feel bad about it, then like apologize and try to learn something from it. You know what I mean? And like if you think that they're just being kind of a wuss and they actually need to like take a hike, then tell them to take a hike, and like that this isn't the place for them, if that's how
Speaking of learning something from it, how could people learn from us, Tellman? Is there any end to any way to join us and learn from?
Yeah, there is. Before I tell you how to learn from us, I want to say, and we do need to hop here soon. We got a question today. A brave soul asked a question. Al Chan. And I don't know if either one of you know
Al Chan or AI. Is that Al or AI Chan?
I thought it said AI, but there's a guy there, and so I feel like it's Al. But it looks like it Al came from one of you guys. I don't know who. Do you know Al, Simon?
Doesn't ring a bell.
All right, doesn't ring an Al. So Al said, "Do podcasts assist to grow our list?" And the answer. Look at this. It's Al Pacino plus Jackie Chan. I love it. I absolutely love that. That's Simon's friend. Cool. Awesome. So do podcasts assist to grow our list? And we can answer this question and tell people how they can learn from us at the same time. So Harris and I are teaching a methodology that we've both used many times to give our lists huge boosts. Simon has used this strategically over and over again in his career as well. We were talking about it directly earlier in this video, which is the virtual summit. How do you interview people to build a big list, make a bunch of money, and build a great, deep, lifetime, long-lasting connection with your followers? And the answer is to do a virtual summit. And we've mastered this process. I've taught literally thousands of people how to do this process. We've had so many success stories over the years. And I taught this a long time ago, and Harris was actually one of my students. Interestingly enough, Simon also was one of my list building students of my first list back in the day, about the same era. So the simple version is that if you guys are interested in our upcoming boot camp in September.
Wait, you didn't answer the question. You didn't answer the question.
Oh, I'm going to.
Okay.
If you guys are interested in our upcoming boot camp in September and you want to learn how to do this, build a big list and make a bunch of money in the process by doing a virtual summit, then type boot camp into the comments, number one, and then send me or Harris a private message. Whoever channel that you're watching this on, send me or Harris a private message, because we are currently going out to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, at least different locations. So, great. Yeah, just go ahead and type bootcamp in and shoot me or Harris a message, send a friend request. Al will keep a lookout for you. And I do see your comments coming in. And so to answer the question directly is that podcasts are awesome. Okay. And these days there's audio podcasts and there's video podcasts. And podcasts are an example. I mean, what we're doing now is going to be a podcast. Technically, it's not a podcast right now, but it will be. And so many people that live stream and create recordings, whether it's a solo person talking or whether you're doing an interview or some sort of collaboration, these are great ways of spreading the word, right? And creating a podcast, creating a YouTube channel, creating a Facebook live stream, streaming on Twitter, streaming on LinkedIn. These are all places that you can push the same type of content these days. And a podcast is just one of many channels to spread the word about what you're doing. And then what you end up doing is you drive people back to a page where they can either join your email list or where they can buy a product from you if that's the front end of your funnel. And so in this case, what we're saying is, hey, we're raising awareness around our upcoming boot camp. If you're interested, let us know, and then we'll have a chat about it, and you'll be able to find more about getting on our list in the not too distant future. Harris, you seem like you have something you want to say.
Oh, sorry. No, it just got me thinking. I don't know if I should be doing live talking and thinking but I think to answer the question, it's yes. I mean, a podcast can assist in building your list, but assist is probably the right word. I wouldn't rely wholly on that. And nowadays, I probably wouldn't rely wholly on any one methodology or one platform or whatever. Especially with AI giving you the ability to chop stuff up and redistribute it in other ways, and those are all ways to assist. But basically, creating content, especially original content, which is what a podcast is definitely going to be the starting point to help you to assist in building a list. It's good to have a bit of a strategy behind it, and that's where I started going off in my head. I'm like, you're right, Tellman. This is kind of a podcast, and that might have been the first person that we're like, oh, you don't know who that is. I don't know who that is. You don't know. So I do kind of recognize the name in just, I think I saw Al comment on some other post somewhere else. But he's definitely not on my channel. He's on your channel, right? Tellman, you're fine. He's replying to something.
He said, I don't know one way or the other. He said he's friends with Simon somehow and been to Simon's iSummit event and the One Ultima KL.
So, but the point being, this guy didn't know us, and quite frankly, it's a jump to say, hey, if you want to do our boot camp, we'll talk to you about that. I think we should probably have something in between that, which we do. We have a video that we created that's really where we're ultimately going to send somebody to. But first, before we jump on a phone with somebody for an hour and say, hey, join our 12-week boot camp. So anyway, that's just what I'm thinking is that, like, oh, you know what? We're at the front of the funnel right now.
I totally disagree with you right now. I definitely think, I'm totally down with jumping on the phone with you, Al, and chatting about it if you want to. Like, it's no problem. Yeah.
That's fine. I don't mean that you don't want to jump on the call with him. I just mean that as this progresses, we're at the front of the funnel.
Yeah, we're doing a bunch of different things to promote it, and there'll be different links that we give out and different things that we try along the way. We're putting a bunch of different
Al, if you're interested, by all means, write boot camp. So
we did. he's already passed you here,
and one of us will talk to you.
That's right. So good. Cool. And, by the way, earlier I posted that if you ask a question, you're going to win a prize. So, Al, I want to give you a copy of the original edition of my first list that Simon went through. I have it available online, and I was giving it away recently, and so I'd happily give you a copy. So, complimentary. And if anybody asks a reasonably good question, even if it's really silly, I'll totally give you a copy of my first list too. So heads up, even if you're watching the replay down the road, the ask a question, win a prize offer, though I hadn't really told you what you're going to win. Now you know. If you're still watching, ask a question, win a prize, get the original edition of my first list, 2000, what year? 2004 edition.
Original. OG.
Huge value.
Cool. Simon, what do you think? Podcasts and list building?
Yep, it's very similar to a question that I always get, which is how does Google make you money, or how can SEO make me money, or how can Google Ads make me money? The answer is it doesn't. All those different ways are traffic generators, right?
That's
It
right.
drives traffic to whatever end product or service that you want to sell. Now, the actual question though is, do podcasts assist to grow your list? So different, obviously, from do podcasts grow your list? Do podcasts assist to grow your list? The answer is yes, through a process. You still need to go through my first list. You still need to know how to get the lead magnet, get the autoresponder, the list building, the lead generation form, the landing page, the email sequences. Everything needs to be set up. Then the podcast is your way to drive traffic to that page so that you can build your list.
Simon, that was exceptionally clearly articulated. Job well done. Like, you must teach this stuff.
learn from the best. You know what I'm saying?
No, seriously, that was really, really simple and really, really clear the way you put that. I appreciate that. Very cool. So yeah, if you're into podcasting, start podcasting every day and drive to a funnel that builds your list, you know, and become a serious student of marketing. Cool, guys. Does anybody else have anything they want to say before we wrap today?
I think this has been it's been a really good solid hour. There's been a lot of really good content, a lot of good information. We got a question and we answered it, and all three of us answered it.
That's right.
You and I got in a fight. We'll have to. But it was really great seeing you, Simon. Thanks a lot for jumping on with us, and we hope to do more of these. And I guess this isn't a podcast, so when it's a podcast, we'll have you back on.
That's right. That's right. So awesome, guys. Well, we're live streaming every morning, Monday through Friday at about 9 a.m. Eastern, roughly. So tune back in. We'll see you soon. Ask questions, and if you want to nominate anybody to be interviewed, let us know. You know what? That's one last thing, Simon. Is there anybody that you want to nominate to be interviewed?
Anyone that I want to nominate.
Yeah. Who should we interview next?
Well, a friend of mine that does podcasts calls this the never-ending chain. So who do you think we could interview, and that we haven't interviewed already, which is really easy because you're the second person we've interviewed, and you have to be able to introduce us to him.
Oh,
but so you know him already. I'm thinking Ross Goldberg.
Ah, Ross would be great.
Well, that's legit. There's no reason we can't do that. All right.
There you go.
That's
Ross
fine.
Goldberg.
You took the easy way out. You took the easy way out, but that's okay.
Isn't he promoting some new traffic thing? His traffic magnet or something?
Yeah, he's got something new.
Let's interview Ross. Let's interview him tomorrow.
Okay, I'll talk to Ross and see if he's available tomorrow at 9. But he's pretty scheduled, so it might not be tomorrow. It might be the next day.
All right, that's good.
Or after.
Cool. I haven't talked to him in forever. Good idea, Simon. Thank you. SimonLeung.com, everybody. Thanks for being our guest. This is great. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Thank you for having me. It's fun.
Rock and roll.
And thank you for liking bald people and accepting one man with hair.
That's right.
Hey, we find them easier on planes, you know.
Exactly.
All right, bye, guys.
Yeah, I can't click to